Call meeting to order. First order of business will be the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone to our March 18th council meeting. I hope everybody had a good St. Patrick's Day yesterday. Remember our Irish heritage here in town. We're going to move on to the consent agenda, which includes a few items, including our February 18th, 2025 regular city council meeting minutes, our March 4th, 2025 special city council meeting minutes, resolution 2514 approving donations, and a request to approve the hire of pool manager and head guard. Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any other discussion? Anyways, Delana.
Aye.
Colton.
Aye.
Vernon. Aye. Brandy.
Aye.
And David is aye. We'll move on to public input. Do we have any written correspondence?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
We will move on to the Pine Island Pickleball Association, Mr. Strandell. Yes, sir. There you go.
Good evening, council members and honorable mayor David DeVries. Was requested, I'm representing our Pine Island Pickleball Association. I'm currently the vice president of the association. Fortunately, the president could not be here, so I'm taking their place. It was requested that we come and ask for permission to run our pickleball tournament at Cheese Fest. And that's something that we've done the past few years, which would involve using the pickleball courts for Friday evening of Cheese Fest and Saturday. And we'd be running different categories of players, different in pickleball, we have what's called a rating system called Duper. So it's kind of levels of player you are. So it's kind of a handicap system. So you have players at different levels. So if somebody's not playing, somebody is way better than them. Somebody. So that's why we have all of those levels. But before I go into anything else, I really want to express our appreciation for the pickleball courts that are here and for just having that opportunity to have that amenity in our community. I think is a big thing. And I know I see it busy a lot in the summertime once the nets are up, so you can tell it's being used, and we really appreciate it and appreciate the new surfaces on the courts that came in the other day. I know that was an expensive venture, so we really appreciate that. So last year, if you remember, our tournament was raining and we actually only had it on Saturday, but we were able to move into the gyms. We already have those gyms rented, or not rented, but reserved for that. So that morning quickly we had to call whether we were going to try to go outside or go inside. So we quickly taped courts in both the maroon gym and the gold gym, and we made the tournament happen. So last year we had 118 players. We had 10 volunteers and many spectators. So our best guess is we had 160 to 170 people here involved in the pickleball tournament. And that may increase a little bit because we're adding the Friday night time as well. So we would like to, I'm here to ask for permission from the city to use these pickleball courts for the Cheese Fest. Again, on Friday evening, June 6th and Saturday, June 7th. And our goal is to host at least 4 divisions of play like last year. We have been in contact with the Cheese Fest committee. They're aware of the fact that we're here asking permission and would like the permission to run the tournament. We will communicate and advertise the schedule once one is finalized at the end of March. And if we get permission from the city to use the courts for our event. One other thing that I think is of interest is every player that participates in our tournaments has to sign a waiver. So if there's any injury or accident or whatever, they have signed a waiver. So awesome.
Yeah, typically, years past, what we do is we kind of defer to the Cheese Fest for that weekend. And they kind of have a free run of so to speak, for lack of a better, of the park, just for the festival weekend. Previous years, we've had no issues, no problems, with you guys coming in the ball room. So, as long as everybody's in agreement, I think that we would defer to the chief subcommittee, if they're okay with it. I think that it's pretty standard what we would do, from year to year, previously at least. We appreciate you coming, we love to hear about everything in the numbers, we don't always do that. But, you know, I think if everybody's in agreement with that, we would typically defer.
I'd say in this situation, if Chiefs Fest is amicable to the use like they have, communicate with staff, and should we go. With that, it's a big draw, and it's nice to see courts use, so
Okay,
absolutely.
all right, we like bringing more people to town and eating downtown and whatever else, so, all right. So,
They're gonna be in the festival this year too. So they'll be doing Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yep, so they're gonna have the whole Thursday from 5 to 10, and then Friday. And then open. And then Saturday.
all right, great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, you know, you can contact myself or anybody else in the pickleball association. No, no,
Outside family.
yeah, the president's my daughter Laura, but she was at the park board meeting and they suggested we come and speak with you, so. Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Mhm.
Next, we'll have Laura from Goodview County, right? Say that correct? She's gonna be presenting some updates to the council. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Unfortunately, the topic that I'm going to speak about tonight is far less enjoyable than pickleball. As Mayor said, my name is Laura Sandkrink, and I am an independent contractor hired by Goodhue County Health and Human Services to work on the opioid settlement project. And I want to first off say thank you for the opportunity to come and share with you the status of this project, as Pine Island is an important community of Goodhue County and thus a recipient of these funds, impacted by these funds. So first, we'll provide a background of the opioid settlement. And Goodhue County is slated to receive $2.1 million over the course of 18 years. And this began in 2022 and is anticipated to last until 2040. When the county found out that it would be receiving these funds, they determined that first we must do a needs assessment. To understand the unique impact of opioids right here in our communities, to then be able to determine what strategies would be effective in utilizing these funds so that we can address our current needs, but also to prevent further harm. To that end, I engage 50 community stakeholders with professional expertise and or lived experience, either direct or indirect lived experience. Through focus groups and key informant interviews to learn, to hear what is it like right here in Goodhue County. For your information, these links, I believe this PowerPoint has been shared with you. These links are live. And so if you are interested in reading the full report and or the 2-page executive summary, you can just simply click on those links. But today I will just share with you the major findings and themes and recommendations that resulted in that report. First, I heard loud and clear that our community members wanted to prioritize focusing on youth, focusing on prevention, early education and awareness building. I believe 100% of those stakeholders mentioned this, that they wanted to spend the funds on that topic. I also heard themes such as a need for connection amongst those in recovery. For example, support groups and peer recovery specialists help. Also a need to fill the service gaps along the whole continuum of care, with chemical health treatment. And also a desire to increase access to harm reduction strategies, but also with that accompanying education. Increasing access to and awareness of creative recreational outlets and alternative modalities for self-care was also a need. Basically, teaching people how to cope so they don't turn to chemicals. There was also a need to increase access to mental health care, enhance treatment court eligibility criteria if possible, because that was a successful program, and increase tracking and sharing of opioid related data. Also, another theme I heard loud and clear was the desire for community members with that lived experience to be participants, active participants in the decision-making, planning, implementation, and evaluation of the opioid related programming, which was really neat. Therefore, that's what set our programming in 2024 in action. We thought first, now we know, well, we know the results, we know the themes, the recommendations, we kind of know the landscape of Goodie County. Now we want to move forward. And so the first thing we did was establish the Opioid Settlement Advisory Council. And it is comprised of folks who either are professional experts with this issue and or those with lived experience. Many of our members on our team have both. And so they also must be a member of Goodie County, defined as either living in or working within the community. And we are just thrilled so far with the progress. The values that we have are that diversity perspectives are necessary, each member is valued and considered an expert, and we truly have shared power on this committee. I won't read all of these off, but you can see that in 2024, these were the backgrounds of many of our team members, OSAC team members. We really strive to have representation all across Goodie County from various communities, as well as sectors, diverse sectors that somehow touch the opioid crisis. And those folks who have lived through this. We have two mothers who have lost sons to opioid overdose, and several other folks who are part of the recovery community. Together, this team established the vision statement for OSAC, which is to promote safe and healthy lifestyles through the commitment to prevent opioid abuse and overdose, striving to bring lived and professional experience together by providing education through community connection, instilling hope for our youth, and bringing change that can be passed on for generations to come. Our process is very much modeled after SAMHSA's strategic prevention framework that involves assessment, capacity building, planning, implementation, and evaluation. And it's definitely not a linear process. And this year, in our second year of the OSAC, we're going to continue jumping into each of those stages again, and for each year moving forward. So what did we do last year? It was our first year, pilot program year. The feedback we have received, it has been very positive. We were able to allocate $200,000 in our very first year. These are just for 1-year grants. And on the right-hand side, you can see the 4 investment strategies that the OSAC team determined were our highest priority right now. We invited programs around the county to apply for funding from OSAC if they fell into one of these investment strategies. The pie chart you can see is how we allocated funding. By far, we awarded funding for peer recovery specialists and sober navigators, and then also harm reduction, access, and education were our 2 largest buckets of funding. This is our list of grantees, and I just want to make special note of something you all would probably be thrilled to see. Almost to the bottom there, you will see that the International Fellowship of Chaplains, or the SOS program, is receiving a grant. This is a grant for just Pine Island schools. And so it's serving your kiddos right here, in the community, kids who are at risk, and, some really great prevention programming. The rest of these are scattered all throughout the county, and serve, we try to, again, to serve, a good portion of the county. Okay, so besides just determining who we will award funds to, the process of bringing those stakeholders together, the OSAC team together itself, was an intervention we learned. Through our evaluation efforts, we learned that our team created this culture change, and brought it back to their own organizations, a shift in sharing power. We created a safe blended space. We also increased knowledge of local opioid epidemic statistics and the status of it. We increased awareness of resources. We also brought in more empathy, compassion, and understanding of the affected populations, and thus less judgment. We increased networking and collaboration, and even organizations had changed some policies to be more responsive at their organization. So we were thrilled about that as well. This year, the slide is a little kind of outdated, so I apologize about that, but we have already recruited to fill gaps in membership. We are up to a team now of 25 people. We will continue to monitor our progress, not just the OSAC, team's progress, but the progress of all of our grantees across the county. We will continue to plan new investment strategies and release a new request for proposals by the end of the year. So if you all are interested, I will, keep you updated on that. And then lastly, our implementation. These OSAC direct strategies are little, well, I shouldn't say little. These are boots on the ground projects that we will be implementing across the county. Facing fentanyl will be community and school-based education. Perhaps we'll be reaching out to Pine Island schools about that. Change the outcome is also community and school-based education that we're going to try to bring to various communities around the county. We are also going to do some planning for the possibility of having LADCs in schools, and also increasing the number of sober housing available, and create a Sharps box pilot. We need safe disposal of the Goodhue County Law Enforcement Center was experiencing sharps being disposed of in prescription medication boxes, and that was not safe. So we wanted to have something more suitable. And other things to be determined, we'll be working on this year and the next several years. It takes a village, and I'm proud to just share this work with you because of our wide variety of stakeholders who are a part of it and really help make it successful. And again, I just wanted to thank you for the opportunity to share. And I can answer any questions if there are.
This is important. I know there's a number of people in the community that might not be aware of this work. And I would say, serving on the fire department, we see the very real issue with opioids in town. So I guess my question for you is, when you're getting these grants out to people, how are you getting the word out to these groups? Or I mean, is there a way that you're connecting with individuals that you have access to?
Yes. So when we released the first RFP of 2024, we asked all of our team members who represent all these different organizations to share widely with their networks, their professional networks, their personal networks, etc. And then also, as I'm hired by Goodhue County, we help to distribute it to all the different community partners, and just like trying to think of all those different sectors within the community who may possibly be interested in seeking funding, we try to email them out or share social media or whatnot to the best of our ability.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Also, any questions?
There are statistics, I kind of like that sort of thing, so if you're curious about what the numbers look like in Goodhue County. If you click on that full report on one of those first slides, and then go to the data section in the appendix. There are links there that you can click on and see, like real-time data related to the opioid epidemic, so.
Thank you so
Great.
much. for
Thank you
sharing.
again. Appreciate it.
So council, before we move on to administration, we have some special guests here with us this evening. We have two young ladies that are attending Pine High School right now, that are foreign exchange students. They're gonna introduce themselves. Welcome you two.
Hi, I'm Marta, I'm 16 years old and I'm here with the Flex program and I'm an exchange student from Latvia.
Two.
Yeah, it is. So do you guys have any questions?
The presentation.
Yeah, I did.
That's good, true. A lot of interested people, which is good. And who is with you?
From Figure, I'm Flex student from Greece.
And I gotta ask her, if you got to experience the Greek restaurant in Rochester at least once,
Yeah.
right? And how would you rate that?
Oh. It was good, it was like, compared to what I've had, it was like a 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10.
There you go.
It was a good.
I had shared with them when we had our Mongolian family, and they went to Puha for the first time. This wasn't quite who, Mongolian. Right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you. Welcome. We're glad you're able to experience Minnesota. Man, it's lovely. All right, council, we're gonna move into administration. We have a few items here tonight. Resolution 2515, which is approving the support for the North Zumbo Sanitary Sewer Project. Deal bonding bill request, which we're still working on, so.
We're on year number 4 of lobbying the Capitol. And so we're working on retaining the rest of the funding. This resolution states that this is our #1 priority for state bonding. We are requesting 50% of the rest of the project. Dollars are slim, especially since a bonding bill was not passed last year. And so we've been communicating with legislators that essentially we would take less than that to keep the project going and be able to start on time. Which would mean we'd be back asking for more in the future, but obviously would essentially be a down from non-projects. So we are also working on federal earmark dollars, called federal congressional spending, congressional directed spending. And so we're working on a federal request.
No letters written and signed and sent up, so. This will be a resolution of approval. A motion and a second, any other discussion? I'll say publicly, I appreciate. Our city staff's work on this, been communicating with our state legislature, and as you know, we are facing. A lot of fun stuff in St. Paul, so. Appreciate their work on this and keeping that at the forefront. Delana.
Aye.
Colton.
Aye.
Vernon. Aye. Randy.
Aye.
David is aye. We are gonna move into item B, which is Evergreen Rent Concession Request. Who's taking this?
I can start with the request. The Evergreen Assisted Living Director has contacted City Hall. Essentially, they have a potential renter for a unit. They feel that the carpet should be replaced. Staff is hesitant to replace the carpet in the unit just because there's been conversation on whether carpet is being replaced or linoleum. So we're wondering if either A, council would like to replace the flooring, or if we'd like to do that until the potential sale of everything goes through. Or, the renter is asking if he could get something off of his rent for a certain number of months, otherwise there is another unit available, it's just not their first choice. So, those are the options for council.
Is the carpet making it unlivable?
No, I believe it's in one section where requirement was, there's some wear and tear and normal stains. If we were retaining the building, we probably would look at replacement, but again, I'm not sure if the new owners would go with carpet or linoleum. Because we've had conversations, if we retain the complex that we would probably switch over to linoleum versus carpet, but. I'm not sure if we want to place that prior to the sale, or if we want to offer the discount off of rent for a certain number of months. Or leave that unit vacant and, if the individual would like to rent another unit.
I would say on this one, because it's city stuck between a rock and a hard place on it for one. They wanna get these apartments rented out, and that is one thing in the family moves it, walks in there, to tour it. And they see carpets that stay. Do you want to leave your parents, you know, so that's been a big issue. I would say, based on our conversation with potential buyers on that property, you know, like the city want to put into that facility, given that the next buyers could potentially go through it and redo all of it.
Is the sale in?
We'll find out.
We do have a closed session at the end of the council meeting to discuss that.
I mean, I'm open to the idea of. Wait,
Just let it be.
you know, if they,
Yeah, there is another unit available, they could move into it, so.
they could, but, you know, then that goes back to if they easily else, are they not gonna?
Are they not gonna go get it? Yeah, but we don't know the time frame.
Correct.
Maybe it could be sold by them or something.
And you don't want to potential owners and then. Like having the whole rent discount or something like that.
That would be their income, but they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard because I'm just.
One roof or what are we?
I think it's just one room, the main living area is my understanding.
Correct.
They have another option. Feel like you don't want to do rework.
Yeah.
So, I would say that I would look at we leave it as is and not, with potential owners, look at that one. When,
Motion that is. And that's. I should say, we get a second.
I can say.
So we have a motion a second. And that's what I would say personally, like, as a city, we wanna make sure the units get rented out, because that's how we're making money, right? To keep that place filled,
So
so.
if there's another person that is interested in moving in, then we can address them at that point or something. So, you know, since that would be the last apartment or whoever they will be rented.
Right, any other discussion? Otherwise, Delana. Copeland. Aye. Vernon. Aye. Brandy.
Aye.
And David will hold the name. We are going to go on to item C, which is resolution, thank you.
thank you.
Doug, you have any questions? We're gonna go on to item resolution 2516, which is approving business license for the mobile food unit. If you look in our packet, they have information there for us to look at. Who's taking this one?
This is just a mobile food, license for Two King and Grilling, they have had it in the past. They typically report in City Hall to sell across streets in the city hall.
We have a motion, a second, approving the business license, and we always appreciate people wanting to do business. Any other discussion, council? Otherwise, Delana.
Aye.
Bolton. Aye. Vernon.
Aye.
Randy.
Aye.
And David is aye. Resolution 2517 is approving the DNR grant application. Some
I can start talking about this. This kind of came out as fast and furious and, Mitch and I decided, let's go for it. So this is a grant through the DNR, and so they will match up to, $350,000 of a project, so it's like a $700,000 project, they will match up to $350,000. We have talked extensively about switching out equipment, Trailhead Park for accessible equipment that everyone will be able to use and that is handicap accessible. And so we don't have the final quotes today, however, we do have the equipment being proposed before you as a handout. And so there is a large structure with ramps and then other equipment that can be used by someone in a wheelchair or children of all ages, and then there's also upper levels. It includes the swing sets, you can't see it in the picture, but the far two right swings are accessible swings, they're like the full seats. That we can buckle a larger child into. And then we are asking some changes, which are some of the handouts in the stapled in the packet. So the inclusive world does not come with this, it comes with a regular merry-go-round. I am asking that the inclusive world be switched out, so it's a little bit more money, but then that way, again, it's wheelchair accessible and children of all ages could play on there. And then I'm also asking for the monkey bars to be added within the quote, since there are no monkey bars on this structure. And then the last item is the 35-foot skyrun zip track. We are getting a quote on this as kind of an alternate, just to see what it comes in as for the project. But it would be the 35 skyrun zip track, however, the final handout shows the seat that would come with it, so it would actually be the accessible, the 0G seat that would be on the 35 track. I just want to show you, I don't think we quite have a room for the 50, but yeah, but it would have that chair, so it would be inclusive for all. So the request before you, we're still finalizing the grants, we're working through it, we were able to actually send it into the DNR, we just received comments back. On ways we could improve the grant, for the most part, it was really positive feedback. So we're making those changes, it comes out to the dollar amount, like I said, we're working with Maytime, the reason we're working with them is we only have to get a quote because they are a state contract. And so they're under the state bid, and then we do have to work with engineering, and so the park board they approved about $5,000, just got $5,000 to hire with Seth for that engineering services, because we do have to submit that at the current as well. So Game Time and Good Seth and Mitch are putting a lot of work to pull this all together. Is due at the end of the month. A part of that is they do need a resolution approving their application and support from the council, so that is what is before you. To somewhat approve this as a plan. We have a rough estimate that all of this will run about $550,000. I'm asking if you do approve the grant application up to $600,000. And then once we get the final numbers back, we'll put those numbers in the grant when we submit it to this. So the city would have to match 50% of those funds. Again, it's my recommendation that we use money from the land sale, etc. right away. So that we can get those dollars back in and invest in that. Well, that was a lot of information in a short period of time.
I will for resolution 25.
Second.
Motion and a second. On this and, not to jump ahead or anything like that, the city staff, you know, is working diligently to look at what options we have. With existing equipment and, you know, so this isn't something that the staff, you know, city staff is just jumping into. Willy-nilly, so to speak, there's some forethought going into this project. And whether or not we'll be able to,
Some of the equipment that's there, we can move to another.
Correct.
Correct, some of the equipment is old that we would probably dispose of, but some of the equipment we may be able to repurpose. In another location. And then if we were to get the grant, we wanted to find out until mid-summer. And so we could order the equipment this year, but construction would actually take place next year. If we did not get the grant, then we could do some next year.
Mayor, just a quick question for staff on this. We talked for a second before the meeting about how this is off the state contract, and so we don't have to separately bid it, right? We buy things off the state contract, the state is taking care of the bidding requirements, and so that's why we can buy it this way. I guess it didn't dawn on me before the meeting to ask, but so to the extent we don't have a final quote or a final number, is that because the final configuration equipment we'd be buying isn't totally set yet, or is that?
So,
just haven't
this-
given the numbers?
They haven't approved the numbers, and so this is the equipment that is included in those numbers. What we're waiting back on is the final numbers for delivery, installation, and then it would include the pour rubber flooring. What's outside, and so that's where we had to make final decision on exactly what equipment we wanted so that they could get the final numbers for the. They, for rough estimates, they said just double the amount of what the equipment actually costs, so this equipment costs about $260,000. And so double that would bring us around 500.
sure. That we ask if we could do the first.
I mean, I'm always in all my cities, I'm just fascinated on how great this equipment has gotten, and this is no exception, so yes, I will move first.
There you go. I would like that old fashioned merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Spinning
I
like
thought
that.
it was that, it's flying around.
All right, also we have a motion and a second, correct? Any other discussion or questions?
What's the, if all goes well, what's like, time for like install date?
Install would probably be next summer.
Oh, like.
Like
months?
I think they can do it fairly quickly, so what they usually try to do is they try to coordinate multiple cities, so they sell all over, I know like Olmsted County Parks, all of their equipment is getting back. And so they'll usually see what other areas in southeastern Minnesota order, and then they'll build it off from there, so we don't have a time frame unfortunately. We would probably push after Cheese Fest, just so it doesn't disrupt Cheese Fest, and so we would probably push for early summer, but make sure that they don't start. And the number one question we have asked is this poured rubber flooring. It does well with flooring, so that was our first question.
It's the same flooring that I'm running, right?
Yes. Yeah, so the water just flows through it, of course, so it dries easily. It doesn't retain. Yeah, so we would, over time, the city would save money not replacing wood chips.
Like, we haven't been that,
Yeah, I know some of the comments that the DNR had was, we have already made some of the improvements, we do have handicap accessible bathrooms, we have paths to the park, and so they take, a lot of those into account when they're looking at grants, and so the fact that we've already invested in the park, this is kind of the final piece to it, scope bonds and we're not going to.
Very good.
Are we responsible then for the dismantling of the current equipment?
I believe so, yes. And that's something we'll have to talk internally on what we wanna do. It depends on if we wanna save some of the pieces and repurpose them, that would probably be internal, or we could hire someone. Yeah, I think those are more discussions. I think we wanna see if we get the grants and then we have kind of the year until next year to decide what we wanna do, if we wanna keep some of that. Or, we can sell it to another city, at a discounted cost too.
Questions?
Great question.
Billy, Colton, Vernon, Randy, David is aye. Planning commission, we have nothing. So we'll jump right into public works and engineering, which we have resolution 2518, which is amending the assessment role for the Fourth Street Southwest Street project. Right, Scott.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. So a few weeks ago, I was contacted by Mr. Covetter, who lives on the 23 Street project. And he asked us to look at the calculation that was used in his assessment amount. And what we found was that the side yard distance was actually 30 feet longer than what it actually is. So when we calculate the assessments, we look at all the front yard, side yard footages, and we use the deeds to do that. Well, his property deed was described in the center of 4th Street. So there was an additional 30 feet there. And then similarly, his neighbor to the south, their property description actually ran to the center of 5th Street as well. So so they were overcharged by 30 feet of side yard footage, which ended up being about $1,566.30 per for each resident. So we have two different circumstances here. Crews paid their assessment in full prior to accruing any interest. So it did not go and it was not certified to the county because it was paid in full before. Covetters started paying last year in 2024. I did check with the county and it's too late to have this rectified by 2025. So it would have to go on the 2026 tax, their tax statement. So so for their case, we are proposing to recertify amount, the amount of the assessment of the $1,566.02, the principal amount plus the interest paid on that for the 2 years. We wouldn't extend this to a 15-year payback because they would already be 2 years into it. So we have a little bit to work out with the county and the exact amount of that interest, but that's what we're proposing for them. For the cruises, since they paid in full without interest, we would not certify that with the county since it's paid already. So we would request that we write that check and the amount to pick up. So,
Properties, the deeds, for the center of the street.
no, that's not all of them. So that's like, yeah, exactly. In the township and everything it is. And sometimes they are to this in the cities, but you know, when we were looking at the deeds, it was an oversight on our part. We didn't verify it.
That close to the, did last year, 5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Don't look at true. Yeah, but that is one way that we double check too. We go through and we look at, and then we do use GIS to kind of just double check the work and was it done in this case, so. So apologize for that, but that is resolution. What's that?
And you went through a double check on it.
Yes, yeah. Everybody else, yep, yours is good. You were shorter, but. Yeah, so we did run this by Bob and he had a couple comments for us, but again, comments, Bob?
No, looks good to me.
So does that make any impact on the end? On the end line with that money? Does that allocate somewhere else that are, is it city? Or where's that, what happens to that money that they would charge?
Yeah, so then it would just come out of
Our general
general
fund.
fund, expense,
Right. Thanks for helping us with that.
yeah, yeah.
Great, council, it's a resolution item.
I mean, make a motion to accept the resolution for the cost of whatever the. What is it, 2518?
I'll second.
The motion is second on resolution 2518, amending the assessment role for those properties. Any other discussion, question? Thanks for your work on this, Craig.
Thank you.
Otherwise, Dwayne.
Aye.
Colton.
Aye.
Vernon.
Aye.
Randy.
Aye.
David is aye. You guys are taking the next one, which is a request to approve participating cost of 511 Street Bridge, or who's taking that?
Yeah, and I said on the agenda, it says request to approve. We really don't have any action for you. We more or less just want to let you know that the request will be coming in the future.
Yeah, that's correct. So so there's a spreadsheet that was included and that includes some of the local costs and non-participating costs and then their participating costs for the replacement of the 511th Street Bridge. And so the local costs would include some of the approach work, so some of the street heading up to the bridge. And then some of the design elements on the bridge to some of the concrete textures and things like that the county and state don't pay for. So that total about $76,000 based on the little bid from Icon constructors and then the engineering, all of that except for $10,000 gets paid. And then the street and surfacing work or the approach work, so 10,000 of that is paid for by the city share as well. So that totals $96,000. And to date, the city has paid out close to 136,000. So there should be some funds returned to the city for that. So, but that's something that we'll work through as it gets closer. So just again, like Elizabeth said, I wanted to bring it to your attention.
That repaving going from current asphalt to the bridge, right?
Correct, yes,
It's not
yeah, been a little bit.
Redoing that whole road that's breaking up.
Correct, correct.
Look, want to make sure, we know.
Yeah.
That's a good project.
Yeah, Craig, I remember that we went back and forth a little bit on the agreement, the contract.
Yes.
So this, that finally got nailed to the wall. is that
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
And this is consistent with the county's cost participation policy, that's also reflected in that agreement.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
If you're wearing a orange on there, it's kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the pictures on Facebook. the other day. That came already, so.
We're at Sam out there with his drone getting. He's very good with that. Oh, yes. All right, we're moving on to item C, which is request to approve the quote for sanitary manhole lining.
Council Mayor. Yeah, I got 6 manholes that are right on Main Street, you know, the old brick manholes, and they're starting to fall in, the bricks are. So I'm really concerned. I want to get them lined so that we got a little support there, because if they ever collapse, we're gonna be in trouble. So, I got 3 quotes. The lowest one coming in at $29,550, Summit Infrastructure. I do have a sample of what the lining will be like in the manhole. On the wall, coming out to the manhole cover.
So how do they hear that?
It's a liquid frame, you know. They spray the one layer and they spray the foam and then they spray another layer over them. And then I do have a manhole that's not old. Down on a little thing, and when it floods, it's like a pressure washer going through the manhole. So these guys are gonna take care of that, they do a grouting. They can check grout through the areas where they're leaking, and then they'll line that. Same thing, so. Hopefully it works, for the money, if I have to dig it up, it's gonna be way more than $4,000. So I can't even buy the manhole for $4,000. Hopefully this works and.
Funds quite a bit, and then right over there, so.
Well, just the groundwater comes up and. And that lift station, you know, it's flooding, we pump double, if not more than double. So. We're hoping this hear a lot of that.
You're recommending, so,
Yeah.
I'll, roll for the vote from some.
Second.
the motion is second, we had a few quotes in there. And then Todd, where are you looking at for a time frame?
Soon as the weather gets a little nicer.
It's past months.
I'm hoping. Most of the frost is out now, so they should be able to get in pretty quick, so it's.
Will they anticipate just the holidays to do it then? Or?
Yeah, they probably take them three days. Quite a lot,
Spring.
Yeah, they got clean,
Yeah.
right. So.
And we'll avoid Cheese Fest, so.
Exactly.
It'll either be done well in advance of Cheese Fest or we're gonna wait till after.
Any other questions? Where's the- Everybody, chief, Delaney.
Aye.
Fulton.
Aye.
Vernon.
Aye.
Randy.
Aye.
David is I think.
All right, thank you guys.
Get pressed for tomorrow. We got legal Bob, anything on your end?
I had a nice time council with the mayor and fire department, talking about fire department things. It was time for me to get a chance to see the faces of our firefighters. So and I've been doing other stuff. That's the only thing worth reporting.
They were attentive too, that was the best part. A lot of times people will present, and they just like very dead answer, but they were very attentive and good feedback, so.
Well, I like to do graphs from the fire department too, though, which we're back this year. Started this last one, whoever did that, kudos to them, you can see them. That was very easy to look at and break down.
Doing some good things, like that here. All right, council got claims. Second.
Second.
Any discussion about Delaney?
Aye.
Fulton.
Aye.
Vernon.
Aye.
Randy. Aye. Jump right into department updates.
I'll be quick, to Councilmember Paul's comments. I will point out in the fire department report, at the rural fire board annual meeting. The fire department presented each township with one of those reports and the city as well, so it's fun to see the graphs, so it's nice. Everything's in my report, but staff has been busy, we have a lot of things happening, and it's really exciting to see that, so. I will say Stephanie and Rachel are out the rest of the week at training, so they're going to the Minnesota something clerks and finance officer association conference, so Steven and I will be holding down the fort for the rest of the week, so. But, yeah, we're gonna kind of see, I think we might be in the office in the morning, but we'll see what the weather does, whether we head on and work from home the rest of the day, all the time. Hopefully, I mean, I have a rough commute, a whole lot in 3 months, I guess, so.
Hey, Joe. That tree's looking nice out front. That bushy trees. Yes.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. First thing
It's
was,
good winter, so.
yeah, it made it well through the winter. We'll be actually planting hopefully in the beginning of May for that, so. That's exciting to have that whole garden be redone, so. Kind of in connection with that, I just wanted to let you all know that the Seed Keeper One Town, One Title programming went really well this year. I did not have my final numbers when I wrote my report, but we had 144 people go through the Why Treaties Matter exhibit that we have offered.
Good.
We did have a couple of classrooms come through from the middle school and high school, and that really sparked some good conversation with the students, so. I was very impressed by it, yeah, so if you didn't get a chance to see it, go to the state capitol, it's on permanent display there. We are doing a food drive this month. I noticed earlier last week that the food shelves had posted that they were in dire need, so it's food share month. And so I decided, let's go ahead and do this. I had a huge anonymous donor this weekend. I don't know who it was. I wasn't there. My staff didn't know who it was. But they gave me basically 10 different cases of food items to add to that donation. So I was very honored and thankful for that from them. So whoever you are, thank you very much. That's pretty much all I have this month. We will be, as I mentioned, the pollinator garden is going forward. We have some grants that are pending right now. I should be hearing back this week on getting some signage and whatnot to finalize and finish off that plan, so. Question?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Say things.
Thank you very much.
Work. Good. And it's just plug and play. Anything for you?
Speed line, I think, 11 over there. Is it gonna put that before that? Is it working?
Or it was when I went by.
He tested it.
Yeah.
So it is solar, and so. I've noticed, especially in the winter, in the shorter day like days, if it's cloudy, the battery doesn't fully charge. And it's gonna
Yeah, it looks like it's a good overview.
The whole is that value to the use, increasing safety. Over time, the battery.
Yeah. Fire department's not here. They've been busy. And sheriff's office. All right, we are going to be going into closed session, which is pursuant to Minnesota statute sections 1. Oh, Todd. How are you? You're black type on any itch there. How are you? Fantastic. Had a good meeting the other night. Anything you want to add?
No, we just had our planning going last night and we. We did approve that vacating the road, very much.
Good. You commissioners were up to St. Paul, say last
Wednesday. About all our legislators and talk about senators.
Thank you so much. There we go. Alright, look right around. All right, pursuant to Minnesota statute section 13D.05 subdivisions 3C. The meeting will be closed to discuss offers or counter offers for the purchase or sale of real property by the city for Evergreen Place PID number 68427030.